So while we hear and there's rumblings in the U.S. and talk about, even talk about a lost decade, Gustavo Cisneros says Latin America's best decade is ahead of itself. Why?
Well, thank you for the question, David. I've said it in the past, and I will say it today, because everything, all the fundamentals of Latin America are all right. The rates of growth in Latin America, it's going to be between 4 and 5%. Latin America has become, half of the economy of Latin America is Brazil. Brazil has a good model, a very good capitalistic free markets model. It's opening up, and it will continue to grow. The Brazilians are looking at China, and they want to grow like China. So the only way they're going to do that is to open up more markets, to have more investments. So I'm pretty sure Brazil is going to hold. Mexico, there's a lot of bad news about Mexico on the drug side, but the economy of Mexico is doing extremely well. Thank you so much, due to the free market agreement that they have with the United States. And of course, Central America is doing well, the Caribbean is doing well, the Andean countries are doing well, basically because they're all exporting more to China and India and other Asian countries. As long as the Asian economies do okay, they don't have to do extremely well, they do okay, and Latin America, they keep on doing what they're doing now, economically, it's going to give us the best decade of Latin America ever. Now, we have to take advantage of it. That's another story altogether. But the fact is that Latin America, the best 10 years are here now.
Let me ask you this, because you said that it looks like Brazil is tapping into Chinese growth, and Brazil wants to grow like China, Chinese type rates. It does sort of seem like that. They're growing pretty fast. They had their fastest growth in, I believe, 15 years last year. And they're cutting rates again now. And there's actually a little bit of concern that with inflation up at 7.5%, close to 7%, are you concerned that they are trying to grow too fast and may let the inflation genie out of the bottle again?
Well, Brazil is going through a few hiccups. But Brazilians is the only country, I always refer to Brazil as the Imperio Brasileño, the Imperial Brazil. They think in terms of a century or 2 centuries. That's the DNA. And very much like the Chinese. So even though they're going through these hiccups, they know where they want to go. They know that they're going to have some hiccups, but they generally have that direction. And I think they will steer away from these hiccups. Present leadership, political leadership, is very good. President of Brazil, President Vilma, is very smart, very hardworking. She knows what the issue. She's cleaning up the place, and she's dealing with the economic factors. And she is the right person for the job right now.
Okay. In that link, China, Latin America, you've talked about joining up with some of these Chinese companies and helping the Cisneros Group, joining with them and helping them invest in Latin American commodity industries. What can you tell us about that? Have there been any, how are you advancing in those talks to make that happen?
Thank you for the question, David. We've always been about building bridges in a group of companies. We first built bridges around Latin America, not physical, but business-wise, joint ventures. We brought American capital to Latin America, and we were the first ones to begin exporting Latin American capital to the United States, Spalding, Evenflow, Univision, All American Bottling Company. And, but now we have identified with the tremendous exports from the private sector of China to the world, they have, as you all know, also excess dollars to invest beyond what the state, China state, can invest themselves. I mean, what they're doing is gigantic, but it's only a small part. They have to put those dollars to work. I think I believe they want to do it in Latin America because they believe in Latin America. They have made that political decision to go to America. And they are going to need people like us who know all these countries, who know all the families, as you know.
Yes.
David, in Latin America, it's families that count, it's relationships that count. And we have a deal flow. We've always had a very good deal flow. And we have a deal flow that it can be very good for them, very good for Latin American business families that can want to join up. And of course, we know basically most of the time before the investment bankers get to know the story, we know who's selling, who's buying, who wants to, all of those family things that you need to know to be successful in Latin America.
Can you give us a sense of what those partnerships would look like, or as you're moving forward?
Well, we are now in a confidential period, so names are tricky, but we have in Latin America the best agro-industry names, big names. We have the best infrastructure, big names already said yes. We have the best mining families and mining families and mining from other countries wanted to invest in Latin America. And in China, we also have probably the biggest knowledge of China, because we have already in place a very large group of people working on this that know China quite well. And we are in very advanced conversations already with all the big financial institutions in China, Singapore, and David, I have to tell you, they haven't thrown us out of the office yet.